Excellent. We are now recording. So yeah, hello there to everybody. I can see that most people have managed to join us. Everybody seems to have sound working. So hopefully you can hear me. If you're not used to Zoom, I should be the main person that kind of flips up. If you can see all of the boxes and all of the names, then you might want to click just on your top right-hand corner. I think that's where it is in most devices. There's a switch between gallery view and speaker view. So you can switch it over so that it's just my screen that pops up. But then again, maybe you want to see everybody's faces. So hello to everybody out there in aquaculture land. This is not a land that I don't think I even realised that you guys existed, to be perfectly honest. But I've been speaking to Mary and Hazel over the last wee while. And actually, I was meant to be speaking at the conference that happened just as lockdown was meant to be happening. And disappointingly, what happened was that it obviously got called off for various health reasons. So it's really exciting to be with you for the next 2 weeks. And obviously, what we're going to do is on Monday, Wednesday, Friday of this week and next week, I'm here for about half an hour, and if you can make it for all 6 of them, that would be awesome. If you have to drop in and drop back out again, then that's also entirely understandable. I get that you all are relatively busy. Also, I'll mention this a couple of times as we go through the lives, but also what we have is we've got an email address set up, which is lockdown at headstrongnlp, so that's November Lima Papa .com. If you have any questions, anything you want to clarify on, by all means ask through the chat as we go through. Just remember as well though that the chat will be public. If you just post it in the chat down here, but if you wanted to chat to me privately or send me a question, I promise I'll keep it anonymous. Then if you go on to the wee screen with my picture on it, click on the little 3 dots and you can actually chat to me privately. I'll see it pop up here and I'll be able to answer it. So I think that's the housekeeping done. Fire exits or whatever they normally are, you get the general idea. So let's kick off with session 1, and just to briefly, obviously, before we start off, and I'm not going to do this on all 6, so hopefully people who join us maybe a little bit later can check back on this one, because these will be shared and available. It's just to give you a little bit of introduction to who I am, how I end up here as well, but only for a couple of minutes, just to tell you a little bit about me. My name is Brian Costello. I am currently sitting in sunny Johnston, which is just outside Glasgow, for those of you that maybe don't know exactly where that is. If you've ever landed into Glasgow Airport, then you've more than likely flown over the top of my house. So I'm sure most of you, therefore, at some point, have flown over the top of my house. It's very peaceful, can I just say, at the moment, with very few planes in the sky. And I used to work in finance, and I used to work in financial services for a number of years. But through that, I got introduced to my first ever personal development piece of programming, if you like, my first personal development understanding. I didn't realize that the mind was understandable. I've got to admit, I was kind of one of these people who just thought that it was the way it was. So as I grew up and as I kind of came through, I was, without going into massive detail about it, when I was growing up, you can't see it just now because you can only see me from here up, but I'm actually quite tall. I'm 6'2". This is, by the way, can I just point out, this is a lockdown haircut that my wife did yesterday. It's not perfect, it's not ideal, but it's better than it was, can I just say. It's looking tidy-ish. I quite like it, I've got to admit. I'm very impressed at her skills, considering we just took a set of hair clippers and hoped for the best. But when I was growing up, I think they call the hair colour here in Scotland, you know, it's like it was a strawberry blondish Irish russet colour, but sometimes in Scotland they call it ginger. And as I grew up, I was a big, tall, lanky, skinny ginger guy with big glasses on. And as I grew up, therefore, that attracted certain bits of attention, as these things do in school. And I'm sure many of you are around about an age that you can understand that that attention wasn't always positive. And when I grew up, I thought that that was who I was, that I was constantly going to be, as I call him, this lanky ginger kid with the specs, until actually I started to learn this set of tools that helped me understand the mind. And that was 2003. And for the last 17 years, I have studied these tools incessantly. And for the last 13 years, I have ran my own business, which is called Headstrong. I started off with a set of tools called NLP, or Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And since then, I've kind of grown into learning lots about coaching, hypnotherapy, about just general psychology, about a whole heap of things. Although I must admit that a lot of sort of NLP, CBT type thinking is at the core of what I do. Do I claim that what we're going to cover in the next couple of weeks is the answer and is everything? No, and I must admit that if you're also looking for me to be super academic, you're probably already learning that that's not quite the way that it's going to go. That kind of leads on a little bit, that comment, to where I want to go first, which is this whole idea about what is mental health. Because one of the things I find is that at the moment, especially with everything that's going on, you know, one thing or another, as somebody I heard recently just called it, one of the things that happens is that every time we've talked about mental health, we talk about it very seriously. And what I mean by that is, and I'm not saying it's not a serious topic, it obviously is, but what I mean about it is that when we talk about it, we have to frown and like lower our voices and go, mental health. It's not like, it's like a serious topic. And that for me has a range of issues about it. Not and that we downplay it, because I'm not saying we should do that either, but more in the fact that when we have this this idea of mental health being serious, what it does is it puts people off talking about it, because all of a sudden everybody thinks that to talk about mental health must be a really serious conversation, when actually we're all experience crap days and bad days and ups and downs, and ultimately, as we say, mental health is just a health. It's just like your physical health. And this leads me on to my next thing, which is, why is it a problem? Why do we have such a problem with mental health in terms of, especially in terms of speaking about it? Now, I know, although I can see that just by the names that there is a few gentlemen that have joined us. Initially, this was for the women in Scottish aquaculture,